The wind screamed like a banshee, tearing at Leo Vance's goggles as he banked hard left, barely missing a jagged spire of rock. 48 green contrails slashed the stormy sky behind him. 48 elite Death Eaters on Nimbus 2001s against one fifth-year student on a clean sweep that shook so violently his teeth chattered against his tongue. He checked the duct-taped gauge on his handle. The needle was buried in the red line. The stabilizing charm was failing. If he did not pull the trigger in 12 seconds, the vibrating copper coils wrapped around his broomtail would detonate and turn him into pink mist before the enemy even cast a curse. He had no wand hand free. Both were white-knuckled on the wood, fighting the turbulence that threatened to snap his wrists. This was exactly why Professor McGonagall had confiscated his first prototype and called his invention a suicide machine. But right now, read the following story with a warm, deep, and whimsical British accent similar to a classic fantasy audiobook narrator. Use a slow, engaging pace. This suicide machine was the only thing standing between those 48 killers and the convoy of refugee boats crossing the Black Lake below. The sheer idiocy of the plan burned in his chest like the cold rain. Leo was never the hero type. He was the kid in the back of Charms who smelled like wand polish and burnt wood. The one who failed Transfiguration because he was too busy trying to figure out how to make a broomstick fly backward. They called him the Junkyard Gryffindor. While others practiced shielding charms or patronuses, Leo scavenged broken racing brooms from the Quidditch pitch bins, obsessed with a theory that magic could be chained like electricity. If you want to know how this forgotten mechanic turned a vibrating pile of kindling into Hogwarts' last aerial defense, stay with me until the end of this story. A killing curse singed the bristles of his tail, the heat blistering against his ankles. He was flying too slow on purpose. That was the plan. Make them confident. Make them pack tight. He remembered the look on the head Auror's face 3 days ago when he presented the schematic. The man had laughed, tossing the parchment onto the table with a sneer. You want to mount a cascading Confringo array on a clean sweep 7? You will blow your own legs off, boy. Go back to your dormitory. Leo had gone back, but not to sleep. He went to the room of requirement and asked for copper wire, unstable blasting powder, and a timing gear from a grandfather clock. Now, over the lake, the formation behind him was tightening. They were sensing blood. A voice amplified by magic boomed over the thunder. Give up, little bird. There is nowhere to run. Leo grit his teeth, tasting iron. He did not need to run. He just needed them to enter the kill box. The tactical pressure was crushing him. 7 seconds left on the gauge. Distance to the cliffs, 400 yards. Enemy density, absolute. They were flying in a tight arrowhead formation. Arrogant and disciplined, assuming he was just a terrified student fleeing for his life. They did not notice the faint, high-pitched whine emitting from the tail of his broom. A sound like a kettle about to burst. He dove. It was a mistake. The water of the Black Lake churned below, agitated by the dark magic saturating the air. A Grindylow reached up from the black waves, snagging the tip of his broom, jerking him violently downward. The unexpected drag snapped one of the copper coils loose. Sparks showered his thigh, burning through his robes and searing his skin. He screamed, yanking the handle up, barely skimming the surface, his boots dragging in the freezing water. The Death Eaters roared with laughter, diving after him, thinking he was losing control. He was losing control. The vibration in the handle was numbing his arms up to the shoulders. He was bleeding, burned, and terrified. If this forgotten legend of Hogwarts is already touching your heart, and you would like to help keep these stories alive, you can support the channel by clicking the thanks button below the video. Every little bit helps me continue bringing you more hidden tales of courage and magic. Leo leveled out, heading straight for the cliff face below the castle. It was a dead end. To the Death Eaters, it looked like panic. They bunched up, shoulder to shoulder, 48 streaks of black smoke merging into a solid wall of pursuit to cut off his escape. Ideal density. The gauge on his handle cracked, the glass shuttering over his gloves. Now, Leo did not cast a spell with a wand. He flipped a rusted toggle switch he had stolen from a Muggle motorbike and wired into the broom's core. The copper coils on the tail flared blinding white. He did not fire forward, he fired backward. The spell wasn't a beam, it was a dump of raw chained magical energy that hung in the air like a net. He pulled up hard, the G-force almost snapping his neck, climbing vertically up the cliff face. The Death Eaters flew straight into the residue. The first explosion was small, a popping sound like a cork. The second was deafening. The chain reaction rippled through their formation. Because they were so close, their own magical shields fed the cascade. One broom exploded, shrapnel taking out the two next to it. Those two detonated, taking out 4. It was a domino effect of fire and splintered wood. The sky turned orange. Screams were swallowed by the roar of 48 magical cores rupturing at once. The shock wave hit Leo mid-climb, throwing him against the stone wall of the castle. He slid down, crashing into the mud of the bank, the smell of ozone and cooked meat heavy in the air. Silence fell over the lake. Leo lay in the mud, gasping, his arms feeling like they were on fire. He turned his head. His broom was a twisted stick of charcoal, smoke curling from the melted copper. But out on the water, the refugee boats were gliding silently into the secret cove, unharmed. The fireball in the sky had blinded everyone, masking their arrival. He tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't hold him. Madame Pomfrey would later say he had microfractures in every bone in his hands from the vibration. He sat there alone, shivering, watching the debris of 48 racing brooms rain down into the lake. The ministry report the next day cited a sudden atmospheric anomaly or a coordinated aura ambush using experimental weather charms. They buried the truth. They banned modified brooms. They didn't want people to know that a fifth year with a soldering iron and a reckless heart had done what a squad of auras couldn't. It is easy to worship the chosen ones, the duelists, the prodigies. But sometimes war is won by the tinkering failures who are too stubborn to accept the odds. If this forgotten legend of Hogwarts touched your heart,
tell me in the comments, what would you have done in Leo's place? Like the video, share it with another Harry Potter fan, and subscribe to hear more hidden stories of courage, magic, and impossible odds. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon in the sky is just a boy who refuses to land.